Hello guys, welcome to a Train Parrot and to another episode of the Elite TA private sessions. In these sessions, guys, we review the TA coins that you request. So if you are an Elite member, obviously you have already voted. We're gonna do TA this week on Ina, Epic, Uni. What are those coins? I mean, Ina, I've done it, but Epic, I've never heard about it. But we'll see. We'll see if we can do some TA. Sometimes we get some coins with no history. And in this case, Ina, I know it, I've done it, Uni, DOGE, of course, we're going to cover Link, Chainlink, Avalanche, PLUME, what is that? Never heard it. Ethereum, XRP, Solana, ADA, and CRV. If you are an Elite member and you put some coin here and you haven't voted, you can still do that. That means that the coins are going to be shuffling across the stream, but I'm going to have to keep track on the ones I have done already. And we have at the top one, which is called the Degen Parrot, one setup with increasing LO strategy on one asset of Mariano's choice. Like, and let's see if we get it. What is asset tab? I need a little bit more of explanation. What is this? The Degen Parrot, one setup with increasing LO strategy. I'm starting to think that this is something to do with trading bots. All right, guys, if you want to join these sessions live and be able to vote for these coins next week, we do it every Thursday religiously, except for the last Thursday in the month where we do a bit more technical. We go into coding territory and we start looking into Pine scripts, into Python, and see how we can put together some basics in terms of automated trading. The rest of the month, we cover all coins just like what we are going to do today. If you want to join that, you need to become an Elite member. The link to join is in the description and appearing on the screen at the moment. Although that price there is to join for BTC articles. The Elite, of course, is an Elite, so it's going to be a little bit more on the pricey side, but people say that they get a lot of value and we get a lot of Elite members as well. So let's go with the first coin, which is going to be ENA. I'm going to have to figure out what the hell is the Gem Parrot setup. I guess it's to do with trading bots. Let me switch on the chat so I can actually be in full contact with the Elite member community. So let's go with INA. I got my chart in here. Let's do it on Binance. And I've been doing some TA in here. And we got some progress. We have some patterns that we were drawing before to see if we can hold that level of support. If we do a liquidity hunt, we talk about that. We haven't done any liquidity hunt actually. We form a double bottom and the RSIs put a bullish divergence that was on mid-June and it's been expanding. The breakout was in April and since then it's been just going sideways, but it started accelerating with the end of June. And the double bottom is also clear now in the price action as well. Let's get rid of this and let's do some updates because we got that level of 1 on the Fibonacci extension, but we're going to have to correct that. Remember, guys, that the first coin I do takes more love because this is voting, right? So if you are an Elite member and you gave 6 votes, that forces me to cover it more deeply. So I'm going to go into more details within Epic if I can and Uniswap. And as I go lower, I'm going to start going faster and completing the TA quicker. So what we need to do is we need to move this Fibonacci extension to the actual low, the lowest level there. And that obviously is going to drag that extension of 1 from being at roughly $1.5. Now it's only going to be around 135. And that drags this line of the target and this target down as well as the golden pocket, which is now sitting at $2. And I see multiple overlaps of double bottoms in here. We have this internal double bottom, which probably already fully completed the technical target, right? So if we place this like that and we place it there, well, there you go, it's gone. So that part is gone. And what we are currently doing is we are holding the support at 55 cents. That support comes from a holding in here. That was the first challenge of this move up. And in this area, it's been 2 weeks that we are holding it. And there's also the volume profile in here telling us that around 58 cents is an area mostly traded. So being on the upper end relative to this hill, so from the top of the hill and being on that area around here, means that we're holding that level so far, right? If we were below that level, we will say that we are in the bearish side of that. And we probably been there during this week already, in the past week too. But we have reclaimed that 2 weeks in a row above that 58. And that is good. It's promising. Is in a bull flag, probably in here on the daily. And there is a big depression in here, like a gap in terms of volume. And if we manage to break beyond the 70 cents, which was previous support, and around that area, yeah, 72 to 70 cents, that is resistance, that's holding us. But if we go beyond that level, there is that gap there. And we could see a speed up move into 80 cents and beyond that, and hopefully into 92, which is the next big resistance. Yeah, I got a little bit of clarification. Select a coin and give like 3 entry levels with limit orders with leverage calculated on risk. I intended this. Okay, so I guess that was your question. So the selection of the coin, well, let's see. On this one, we have higher highs. I mean, this is too little history to make a proper trade in here, but we are forming the next double bottom. And the next double bottom is around the neckline of 70. So if we break this one, we can do something like this, and we can say, well, let's break that, and we get the next chunk up. Of course, in the way we have the 92, that's one challenge in the way. But crossing that level, we could get very quickly into 1 2. Once we get to 1 2, if we get there, of course, then we get a huge double bottom that basically represents the whole history of this listing, right? And at that point, we get this neckline to the low and we place it like that. And we say, okay, fair enough. We got there. And from 1 2, we can get into 2 3 2. That is even beyond the golden pocket. But of course, we need to overcome all those challenges in the way. In terms of entry levels, this has already shipped, right? So we were already in the double bottom formation. We were looking for a bottom, and we say we had 3 entry levels. Those are from the past because, I look for entries in that area of weakness. I tend not to see a double bottom already breaking out and saying, okay, I'm going to chase it. The worst I do as a sin is to look for the retest. So, for example, relative to the lowest double bottom on this coin, this one there, if we retest the 0.42, but we have done already a retest. Okay, so if we have to come back down for a retest again against that, I'm not very excited, right? Because that retraces all the achievement from the breakout. And this one that is currently happening, the 55, is interesting if you take a smaller position as well, because you are already kind of trading a retest, but you are partially chasing still, because you should have accumulated in the accumulation area, not when the rally already starts. So I guess my degen setup is not going to come from this one. It's already a bit late. Now, if you want to call it degen, yeah, of course, trade that level and then trade the next retest. But you are kind of playing with fire, and it's influencing the idea that it is a degen setup. Socials are spiking big in here. We've been always suppressed below less than 0.40% of social dominance. And just in a matter of a week, we reach more than double that. Almost 1% all socials were talking about this coin in it. And let's look at liquidation levels to see what we can find. That's another source of confidence that you can get for entering on setups that have already gone too far. For example, in here at 50 cents and at 55, you have some liquidation levels there. I mentioned that we are in a bull flag. So the bull flag is probably by now breaking out, right? So if you put a line coming down from the top, touching all those levels, you're going to see that this is breaking out. And again, I don't like entering there. That's the most dangerous moment in the lifespan of the bull flag. You want to trade the low levels and then average and see what are levels that are interesting. If this one fails, the big risk is to hit 38. That is very heavy. So that will be a full failure of all this move. Of course, if you just have to come back down to 55, that is acceptable still. We have a bit of bigger risk at 24. And let me see the chart. Where is 24 in this context? Well, it's pretty much the beginning of these 3 weeks in a row in the green. So that will having to go there really means that it's a full failure of everything, and this is just a dead cat bounce. Reaching that level will make me pretty convinced that we're gonna take these lows, that we're gonna take definitely the double bottom. Let me see the RSI. So we got that layer of breakout, and we got one that is more relevant to where we are now, which is that one like this. It's a layer 2, and it's playing out pretty nicely. But there could be if there was a retracement in the way on the weekly, and I'm talking about the context of what typically happens in August and September, which is a bit of disappointment. It's not for granted, but it's good to prepare psychologically if it happens. That will be retest around 45 RSI weekly. So I'm gonna leave a mark right here, and let's go to the chart. That's definitely gonna look ugly. It's gonna make me look contradictory with what I say before, that I don't want to go to the lows in here. But from the point of view of the RSI, probably that can get you somewhere around there. So let's say 45, and where's the line? Oh, I guess it's this one. So that's 31 cents. And at 31 cents, we hit up to this liquidation pool. So we hit the 4 and the 31. And but think about the context, okay? Think about if this coin now, out of the sudden, by itself, without the market correcting, goes to 31 cents. That is a very bad sign, because it means that it's really underperforming the rest of the market. But if we get a correction with all the market going lower, with Bitcoin, Ethereum, and everything in September at some point in August, and we take some lows, then in a coming at 31, it's still acceptable in the context that this is still, respecting the trend of the breakout, coming from all the history back in time, that is still putting higher lows, not yet higher highs, but is defending an uptrend in the momentum, and that uptrend in the momentum should help this guy to continue up. So let's defend the 31 if the whole market corrects. Let's defend 55 if the market just continues to go sideways. All right, let's move on to the next coin, and let's go with Epic. So I was assuming I wasn't gonna find much history on this coin, but let's see how it looks. So the most traded area is 1.3, and we are kind of building a structure that looks somehow bullish in here. Consider that there's very little history, but that's all we got, right? So we have a resistance here, and we have come down to test that. We've been very close, and the momentum is pointing up. But we are gonna have to drop the time frame to see more in detail what's going on in here. So this is a bull flag, and it's pushing up to for a breakout for a next wave. So if we go from low to high and we place it like this, if we have a similar magnitude to the upside with an extension of 1, we could get a move into $4. The RSI has already, started that move. These are very low market cap, and the amount of money that takes to produce a breakout like this is way less than, let's say, Ethereum, right? So this can get rug pulled very easily. Be very careful, and also notice that we're dropping the time frame to the daily. That also is less quality, obviously, than the weekly. So manage your risk with these coins, because they can easily rug pull. There is this line of defense that will be like a last line of defense. If you want the confirmation that this is just a crappy breakout, you could look into 47.7. Let's actually do that, and that is located at the recent lows at 1.7. And looking at volume profiles, we are facing the resistance of 2.2. Then we have one more resistance, the 2.5, where there's been clearly distribution. Like the first distribution wave was there, then the second one here, and roughly the last one there putting lower highs. So it's been tough in this area, but I will say if we defend that 1.7, we still have a chance to fully continue to the upside. Let's see if we can find liquidation levels on Epic. Okay, so this is good news. From the point of view of liquidation pools, we have taken most of it. Okay, so there is some levels in there below 167, but they are not as substantial as before. And potentially this is breaking out thanks to Bitcoin making some moves at the moment to the upside. I actually need to continue moving my stop loss to defend this recent high. I sent an article to the community mentioning why I'm being more cautious with this move up. So far, I'm still in the long, but I'm constantly moving my stop loss in case we face that 116.5, which now I haven't checked again how is it looking, but I really want to break through that and to continue up into the 120. But I have my doubts that we're going to do that, and that doesn't mean I just close my long. It means that I'm a lot more conservative in how I trail the order. I put my stop loss way closer to the price, just about 1% or less. Sometimes it also depends on the price structure, and I monitor the chart on the 5 minute, and I leave it just there to make sure that I'm not missing with the price action. And that's something I'm gonna do because it's live and we have a position, and you get to see it as well. Right. So with Epic, that's a good news. Bitcoin moving up, it's helping with this. It's also helping that we took all the liquidity pools and that we have an RSI breakout. So we have a bunch of things in our side, and I'm talking about being long, to potentially hit the next extensions of $4 in this level here of 5.4. On this one, levels I will add. Probably I will add some if we get into 47, if we hit that support, seeing how we get there. And at those levels, let's see, 1.7. Well, there was not much liquidation level. So 1.7 is roughly around there. There's no more attractiveness in terms of liquidity pools. I would prefer to add in a level where there is liquidity pools. I always like that when the guy gets liquidated, that's when I enter, because it's almost like there is a moment in time that you enter and there is the bounce, there's lack of motivation to continue going lower, and you enter at that point, and you also get the impulse of the accumulation of pools being liquidated, because that turns into market orders. You know, take advantage of that momentum as well. Let's go with the next one and let's start speeding up a little bit. Let's go with USD on Binance. Let's have a quick look on the weekly. Let's clear all that noise. Okay, Uni still in a very healthy move up. I don't see signs of anything, massively breaking on the weekly in terms of price structure, neither with the RSI. It's all healthy. And let me see. Okay, so most of the history has been traded around the $6, and I want to see where do we have the next challenge. And I will say probably around the $14 to $13. There's a little bit of area there with volume, of course, because that has rejected twice the price and it's been supported in the past. So let's see if we can get there, and if we get there, probably we are gonna see a bit of a pullback. But we have time still to push the RSI higher. So then from those highs we come back into the yellow. So that is kind of natural. Let's see the longs versus the shorts. Oh my God, why there's so many longs on Uni suddenly? Like, look, we crossed all the way from 32 and we went straight to 81. So there must be maybe something fundamental that is attracting people to trade more into this particular DeFi. Not all DeFis are seeing this. That's why I'm saying that. This is on July, 5 days ago. A16Z allies urge Senate to protect DeFi developers. DeFi will become the default financial interface. Yeah, maybe somewhere around those topics is maybe making it more attractive for longs, because you can see we hit almost the highest level of longs in Uni history. The last time it was in March of 2024. This one was on 9th of June, and we're very persisting. Like with the correction of Bitcoin, this came back down only to 67, found support there, and then here we go back again to push highs. And socials is not noisy at all, very quiet in stealth mode. Uni is doing all of this at 0.3 social dominance when it can really reach 3.6, a lot more than that if it wanted to. So it's all happening very quiet. Price structure, how does it look? So we took this low a little bit, so that is not a bullish sign, but we have higher highs too, so that is bullish. We have something bullish, something bearish, massive corrections of 77, almost 77% within the bull market. So this, you need to really manage your risk on these coins. I wonder if we are still within the golden pocket in here. I care relative to all this move down, how much we have managed to move up as well. And as we are approaching the 12, I want to see if the golden pocket is located here, if we already have put any candle close inside, because that is a good indication that, we have achieved a lot. And when you achieve a lot, then you have more chances to continue to do so. So from this low, we have managed to get close to the 0.5, but the real golden pocket is around the $13 and $14. So that is this hill there that is almost invisible. You have to stretch a little bit to see that there is a hill here. And that hill is the representation of these two rejections and all the support there. So there is an area where there is an exchange of hands, right? So fear into people trading the long in there, and here distribution. So once we get into that golden pocket, let's pay attention at the $13-14. That is supposed to be a bigger challenge than anything that we have faced so far from the move of 4-5 into 11. That's the easier part so far. What else can I say about Uni? Liquidation levels. And as we go, yes, pushing higher. Nice. I'm glad that I haven't been stopped out yet with the stop loss. So it's gonna need another move up. The stop loss. We have a little bit of a sideways that we did on the 5 minute, and now we are going for another hit higher. And in terms of liquidations, well, there is a few more here on the 5 minute chart. So let's see as we get into 117 how things are going to look. Let's also see in here what happened. So there was a huge level of resistance there. That's why I put my stop loss very close in here to 116 and say, well, if they get away with that order, they're going to push me back down. But I saw live how they rack pulled the level at 116.4, and it was over 2K in here. And before impact, they rack pull and the price then cross up. It's almost like they say, okay, fair enough. Let me move away. I'm not going to enter. Really, I'm just here to spoof you. And I say, okay, fair enough. Let it ride more then. But now we need to look into what happens around this area when we run out of these immediate liquidity pools that are peaking at around 117. Then after that, there will be more. Of course, we can get into 120, but one challenge at the time. Let's go back to doing TA, and let me see. Unit, do we have it? Okay, so that is very heavy at a 5.6. And since this is a coin that really bukes big, 77%. So if from here was to go to 5.7, that is around here. That's one level up from the beginning of the move. It's too much of a retracement, right? So let me see previous history. So here we did another double bottom, came up into $8. We never came back to the lows. We just continue. Here, there's another double bottom. We rally, we respected 7, and we went back up. So hopefully we're going to get one of those. We need this guy to basically stop at around 8 or at around 94, but not really go that low to 5.9, because that is not going to look like it usually does on the first pullback. The first pullback doesn't go and mess up with being at 4.5, or in this case, it doesn't go back down to 5.9. So let's not go to 5.8 this time. We need to defend those more bullish levels for continuation, and let's get into that golden pocket to discard the chances of dead cat bounce from where we are. So from here, there's still high chances of dead cat bounce. Is still uncertain. When you get into golden pocket, you increase the likelihood of continuation. You can still get a pullback from the golden pocket. That's expected. That's normal. But you tend to have just a pullback that is a bull flag that continues up more often than not after you prove yourself that you reach the golden pocket. Let's go into DOGE. DOGE. Okay, so it's a pretty dirty setup in here that we have. And whenever I see the price doing this very difficult to very unclean kind of setups, I go to the other side to see if it's the same case. Yeah, there are some elements that are still bullish, but it's not just purely bullish, because it broke out from the double bottom. It put a huge green candle, and then we have 2 weeks losing everything and re-entering the previous range. And now we are below the neckline. So that is not great. What is great? Well, that we have a structure that has higher highs and higher lows. And we can clearly see it in the RSI, right? We have a bullish divergence and we have continued. So the setup itself is it sucks, right? Because it broke out, it came back down. But we may not follow that particular pattern. It's kind of looking more like a bear flag now, like this. Not a flag, but like a broadening selling wedge, but the slope is a bit bearish, right? Because it's pointing up and not gaining much momentum. But anyways, I think it's not the time for meme coins, as I was saying also in the community in Patreon. Typically, meme coins do really well when nothing is doing really well, and then people move into the meme coins to have some fun in the meantime while nothing happens. And they also do really well once you reach a local top on Bitcoin, and you have already flipped into all the other market caps and everything gave you something, and then you get the last resource of going into meme coins. In this cycle, we have a third one, which is meme coins are having their own mini seasons that sometimes it's difficult to identify why they're happening. Sometimes it's just because of socials, because they are driven by socials. And Doge is not looking as bullish at the moment. It's not looking as bullish as other coins. So I guess the meme coins are still on the wait for their time. Levels that we want to defend. Well, we are already defending a decent level here, the 19 cents, the 20 cents. We are still holding that level. That's okay. We need to break the 27 for continuation up. If we start, putting a pivot like this, that rollover is really not going to be great, and we're going to continue sideways. But if we start respecting this structure that we just mentioned, that will be good. It's not overcrowded. Longs are stepping back in. We are crossing the middle line into a lot more longs, and they're stepping at the lows. So that could help propelling the price into new highs. And in terms of liquidations on Doge, can I see it on trading different? Maybe let me see that here and swing. Oh, did they list new coins? Yeah, I think so. We are in the swing. There's usually like just 4. Now there's like 12, 15, 12, 14 coins. Okay, that's great. We can use more trading different for more coins. So we got a big liquidation level at 30 cents. And let me pull in an RSI on the daily. I want to see that too. We are having a breakout on the daily RSI. It's a global one, and it's part of this double bottom. You can see there, well, similar to Bitcoin, right? And the target of this, if this follows through with what Bitcoin is doing, and if Bitcoin doesn't do that fake out that we were fearing this morning, that next target is 23.4, and the risk at the moment is between 18 to up until 18. There is a decent amount of liquidation levels. You can see it peaks at 18.5, but it reaches up until 17.8. Below there's a little bit less, but let me see. Okay, with 3x is all located there. With high leverage is also there. So that 18 is the risk. I guess it's the risk of the C wave, right? So if Bitcoin reaches some level in here and comes back down, it as a C wave, well, Doge is definitely gonna hit that as well, right? It is gonna take all of that. And since it's not doing that much, it's gonna follow Bitcoin. But if Bitcoin does something bad, it's also gonna underperform. Next coin is Link. Well, I guess Link is also doing the same as Doge. This is the same structure on the price. Oh, of course, there's gonna be some differences because we have higher highs and higher lows. So Link is very healthy in the structure of the weekly. This cycle is not still taking the previous cycle highs or any of that, but it's looking very promising, and it formed a double bottom right there at the green support. It broke out from the channel. It's taking the first resistance at 20, but it's struggling to break beyond that level. And remember that this double bottom has a target of almost $25, and we have already achieved maybe 1/3 of that, possibly getting close to 50% of that target. And the RSI, after reaching this high in here, has come up pretty significantly in 1 week, and it's meeting now with the revenge area, this area here. We say, well, maybe we're going to get into there, but we got rejected actually by 61.59 instead of 63, so close enough. And that rejection is not yet any bearish at all. I'm even inclined to think that now we potentially, hopefully, we can use this as an actual pivot, because this is my first attempt, but that typically is not a great quality pivot, right? It's too condensed there. So I want to form some pivot, and if this week ends up pointing up, that could be our pivot. If it points down, we are going to be in the lookout. Where do we place this line? With what slope? And once we have that, then we can defend the rally into the upside. But be mindful, because this is in the context of having broken down. So that meant that we needed to adjust our expectations on this one. The global resistance resistance is at 74. The adjusting the expectations meant watch out with the lost support. We already got rejected from that level. So in theory, this could rally again, hitting that level and go like this. Yeah, that's potentially some scenario that could play out. Let's look at the Fibonacci levels. It's the same low that hasn't changed. So we still have the 32 and the 47 on the upper end. And in terms of the structure, if things go really well with Link, let's catch up if we get at the top of this green range. But we really need to do that very quickly because we're running out of time in the cycle. If you're thinking, yeah, we have plenty of time, we can do that maybe by August 2026. In order to do that, we really need to stretch the cycle a lot, right? Because the last pumps were around March, April in 2022. Before that, all were occurring in that time window, right? And this, I put a line in January to basically say, well, you have up until there with high certainty. If you start aiming to take profits in August, you're most likely going to end up with a red bag or many of them, unless the cycle fully changes and redefines a new rule for the cycle, a super cycle, they call it. Liquidation levels on Chainlink. Let's hope that now we have it. Yeah, great, we have it. We have also the double bottom breaking out, incoming resistance at 18. There is also some liquidation level there. The higher liquidation levels are at $20, and our risk is located at 14.6 at the moment. That's the risk of the failure. And yeah, that completes a Link. Let's go with Avalanche now. Wow, this is really crap. You see when you're doing TA of multiple coins, that really helps. So if you a great advice is, if you're trading a coin, grab a set of unrelated coins, different market caps, and try to browse around. Just put them in a list in here, and then go with the keyboard one by one. And you're gonna notice that many of them have built the double bottom, the larger one, not the smaller one, the larger one, and they have broken out, and they're already on the way to next levels of resistance and stuff like that. If they're very bullish, they're already getting into previous necklines. But Avalanche, did a very humble breakout in here. From the neckline will be like $25. It went to 26 stupid dollars, and then put a red engulfing candle back to 21, which is below the neckline. So keep that in context when we do TA of Avalanche. So, and also you have lower lows, lower highs in the structure. You have a previous all-time high that's way higher at 140. We are trading at 20s. And yeah, so that all for context. I like Avalanche. I like the network and everything. From the point of view of functionality, I like it. So this is what we drew in the previous analysis, and we were talking about that confluence of the descending line with the ascending and lost support to see if we can get some revenge against this. The structure looks okay, but it's still very humble, the move. We need to get, I think if we get really lucky, we're going to get to 58. I really want to think different. I'm actually holding some Avalanche from the previous cycle, from the previous bear market. So I'm in profit, but I'm a little bit disappointed with this performance. Like, look at these low levels. Like, you enter at $10 and you're at 2x in how many years? It's really annoying. Yeah, and I need to take profits of Avalanche. I'm going to keep that mental note as well, and to define a plan. I think that 58 looks decent to me for a profit taking. The 58 RSI, sorry. Let's look at the liquidation levels on Avalanche. Well, there's plenty of liquidation levels on Avalanche. Let me see if they added to swing trading. Yes, fantastic. Yeah, so many coins are already in the area of the breakout on the daily, on the double bottom, but Avalanche is still below the neckline. It's trading at 22 and the neckline is at 23. So it needs to do one more dollar to break out from the point of view of the daily. On the weekly, it was a different story. That's a larger pattern, right? So this starts from 10 of March, whereas this starts from July, end of July. And if this one breaks out, it can get to, let's do it correctly, like this. It can get slightly below the liquidation level of 26. It can get into 25.6. That's technical target. Be careful when I say it can get, it doesn't mean it will get. It can get there thanks to the technical setup. The risk is at $20 at the moment, but it can span up until 18.7. Of course, there are way larger liquidation levels below, but just the immediate one are those. And then we have a big liquidation at 27. And where is that in the price? 27 is just around there. It's very close to the price. Why am I not getting bigger liquidation levels? Let's increase this to the daily and let's see if we can get more. Okay, the 56, the 61, pretty much above every single high. We got one up until 66. I just want to know if they're significant enough. Which ones are very significant that probably market maker will hit. So we got that 69 there. That is in here. And if we get to 57, what is the price of that? 57. That is 27.93. So that big liquidation that we saw at 27 is reachable by hitting the global resistance. That is not that difficult to achieve, low hanging fruit. If we get a global breakout now from here and we get an altcoin season and we get performance of the rest of the altcoins, then we can start talking about higher targets on Avalanche. Hopefully we get that and all of this crappy structure in here can still squeeze some lemon juice, but so far it looks very ugly. 54 and 78 are the expansions of Fibonacci in this area, just to keep them in mind as well. Let's go with the next one is PLUME or PLUME, I don't know. Never done this one. Let's see if it's listed somewhere else. Just Bybit. Okay, on Bybit it's like this, and on Mexi it's just the same. Okay, let's go with Bybit. It doesn't make any bigger difference. Drop into the daily time frame. And what the hell is this coin? I never heard about this. No, it doesn't say anything. It's just sideways between 23 and 74. There is very little structure just from around there. There is some levels being respected. This is resistance. These are the highs, potentially some support there. And we have recently a breakdown, and the RSI hasn't reset fully, but it's starting to curve up. And thanks to that, is doing like a low quality breakout in here. Yeah, longs are at 73. There's a tons of longs in this area in here. Let me do some extensions. So I wonder if we can hit. Yeah, I mean, the strongest resistance at the moment is 14. Around that area is where it's been traded all the time, thanks to just doing sideways. We are on the bearish side. We are on the bearish side of the range, and we are producing a breakout, and we need to really prove that we can climb about 15 cents and cross this resistance there. After we cross that and we are on the top end of 15 to 19, that area I will expect it to turn back into distribution area, just like it's been in this area in here. We are kind of forming something in here. Let me show you. So this is forming something like this, and I would like it to break out around there. Longs are sticking around, and targets are to get on to the other end, to 17. So if we can use that setup and reclaim 15 and stay there, that will be fantastic. Particularly if you are accumulating at the lows, not for entering at 12, because you enter at 12, you have very little room to breathe. You can just cross into the resistance, hit 15, get rejected, and immediately go back into a drawdown, right? Back in the red. So ideally, you enter at the lows, lows relative to the previous lows, right? So you have that as a way to see where are you. What else can we say about this? Let me see the liquidation levels. I'm sure that that's not going to be on trading different. Maybe it's not even here. Never heard about this. When was it listed? In mid-January, right? So it's been taking all the longs so far. There is very little left in the past 3 months, but there's not much on the upside. Maybe, let me see this one. Are we in the right one? 009. Yeah, we are there. It's showing me some liquidations at 11, followed by 14. And then there's probably a large one at 18. That's the one that we should be looking for, to get into the 18 liquidation and hit it. But I'm afraid that if things are still a little bit calm in the market, with the altcoin season taking a pause, convincing that it won't come, and Bitcoin taking a breather in August or September, maybe we should aim lower and take some partial profits if you really want to stay allocated, and maybe you can catch it from lower again. Let's go into the next one. The big boys. Okay, so let's do Ethereum. Ethereum, I already covered it in the video in the morning. It's impressive how it's behaving against this trend line. I'm liking that. I'm liking that it's increasing in the dominance, not just in the price, but it's holding very critical levels. You can see that the behavior so far in this area is very different to the other ones. Still, trail these areas, because as we approach 4K, that can be still heavy resistance. So watch out with that level behaving like a B, right? Because it that's how it's been behaving the last 3 times. And I'm sure that there's gonna be some fears as we get into the 4K. Now, the amount of liquidations that they are from 4.2 into 4.7, once we start hitting those, we're going to see fireworks. And in terms of shorts liquidated, there's a crazy amount of liquidations around there. And that could also attract the price, because some of them are going to say, well, let's start closing the shorts. And that is buying pressure. We are holding that level and much better than before. And I mentioned that the low 3000s was a great idea to rebuy on Ethereum, because I sold at the highs. I'm not sure if you did it as well, but we got into 3.361 in the last week. So that was an opportunity to reallocate. And with that, we can aim for those liquidations later. Let's look at where they are on Ethereum. So we got one coming in very, very soon. That one at 4,156. And that formed thanks to this bull flag, and it's chasing it. It's chasing it very, very, very fast. We did this, I think, last week. We broke down, and our risk at the moment is, as I probably say that week, which is to go and hit this yellow line in there, the resistance. And let's imagine that we go into 70 and we see a rejection of resistance. Then we will continue to reset the RSI. If we continue to reset and we put a new low on the RSI, that means that the price will have come back again to potentially take the lows of 3.3. If we break out from here, well, that means that Ethereum is officially in banana zone. It can have its own banana, I guess. And this liquidation is new. It's from the 22nd of July. As we hit these highs, it formed, but it's definitely going to overlap with everything that is from before. You have areas where we hit 4K from pretty much March 2024. I'm not in no way saying that all that liquidity is still there, but there's definitely some proportion that can affect the market. Okay, so with Ethereum, I will say watch out with the 70 RSI on the daily. I want to know if with 70 we can stretch the hand. I think I calculated that. Yeah, with 70 we can get probably into 4K point 4050 maximum. But intra-candle, maybe we can stretch the hand and liquidate that. My preference is that we get into 70, we get a rejection, and we get a full reset of the RSI, like this whole journey down a little bit lower into the 30s to really convince that it's not going to happen. But I really don't know what's going to happen. I don't know if we are going to break out from here. If you break out from 70, what is unfortunate is that it might not last for very long, because you are already in a channel down. So you can do some exceptions that are against the odds, but it doesn't last as long as if you reset full in sideways or slightly bearish, and then you break out from the bottom with another thing. So that's my preference, not my forecast. Ethereum, okay, cover if there's any additional questions. Guys, there's so little time to cover everything that is left. Recently, I covered Ethereum and Solana in a separate video, and I think XRP as well. I have done it. So let me know in the comments, if you're still around, which one you prefer. The first comment that goes now live in the chat, I will cover that coin, and then with that, we end this episode. And this video is going to go live tomorrow for public, for non-elite members, so they can also watch it. And tomorrow we publish it in a more condensed way. We edit the video into 40 minutes or something like that, so you can watch it faster, and it's gonna go out also with timestamps. That way you can go straight to your coin. Right, let's do ADA. We got a comment. ADA. Right, so ADA is a bit disappointing as well. Oh, leverage squeeze sell. We're getting too many longs. And where is my trade? Let me put the stop loss right underneath the double top on the 5-minute chart. Yeah, so if that fails, I'm out of the long, and I'm willing to re-enter if it fails, maybe from a little bit lower. I just want to lock in something with these conditions of the market, of course at the cost of being wrong, but the idea is always taking profits. Let's look at ADA. So ADA play by the book when it comes with the bearish kind of forecast that we did. We say that it's very likely that we just get a revenge rally into this resistance of 57, and yeah, we hit that. We got a pullback. Now the pullback is not that bad. It's not like taking any lows. Let's say that now the support is here. It's a very pronounced move up. So I'm tempted to say that there can be another wave up, but now we are facing August and September, so maybe we'll take a bit of time to do the next leg. It's low likely that we're gonna break above 59.62, I will say. Let me find those numbers. 59.62 and 43.75. Right. So the next resistance is 92, and the global support, okay, is 56.59, which is slightly higher than the double bottom. That is just a last resource, of course. I don't want to cross below 70 cents. That's where we are being held at the moment, and it's already bearish looking because the double bottom pattern got also a disaster in here. So it broke out, but it's just coming down. So it's putting so far higher lows, higher highs, but it's very humble the bullishness at the moment in ADA, as you can see. And I think a lot of the bullishness is being taken away from Ethereum, that has been so silent, so underperforming the full cycle, that now that it's making a lot of noise, it's also compressing the rest of the coins. Because look at these moves, for example. This is what ADA was capable, 300% in just a few weeks. And now it's cooling down, and it's allowing Ethereum, which is another beast and is way larger than ADA, to do its thing. So I will expect that Ethereum will give us something to say after Ethereum completes certain things. And at the moment, it hasn't confirmed I'm done, right? Because it's still on the way up, still confirming some breakouts, still pushing in the dominance. The actual dominance chart that we covered in the video this morning also says there's still chances that I continue down and we get an altcoin season. And Ethereum is saying, yeah, I'm up for it, right? I'm up 38K. And so that's why I don't, for as long as Ethereum stays like this in Bitcoin too, I'm not that worried that the others are not doing anything. I just take it as it's not our turn. Let's wait for our turn. And okay, let's do XRP. That's the last one. XRP, I'm just gonna do it because you guys love XRP. XRP. Okay, so I wouldn't say that this is price exploration, guys, because for this to be price exploration, you typically go to a new range and you don't mess with the previous range. So the highs of the previous range is $3. And here we pinch up until to 7. We're coming back up from $3. So it's a bit of a stretch to say this is a retest of the breakout, because, you know, went back inside it and you're approaching it, and within the intra candle we are about 3. But if this week we close below 3, that says a lot. What does it say? It says that this was a liquidity hand, and you know, that could be a shake move, right, to do a deeper correction within the previous range, maybe just to the point of control, which is probably a 2.5. So if this is a liquidity hand, then 2.5 is on the table. If we reclaim the $3, then the bulls are going to step in and say, no, watch out. We look at what we can do, right? We can confirm that this is support and we close above it. Oh, fair enough. Then there's continuation. And continuation looks very promising, right? So we got an extension of 1.46, a golden pocket of 5.7. So there are big numbers if we can do that, but we need to do it. Otherwise, the 2.5 is back on the table. Let me see the longs versus the shorts. We are getting close to an area of value in terms of longs. A lot of longs pull out in the expectation maybe that August and September was going to be bad. There was a lot of hype. We got into 4.7 in the social dominance. Now we are at 3.6, cooling down. And in terms of liquidations on XRP, are you here? Yeah. So in the last video, I talk about this inverse cup and handle, and I left this line, as you can see, and that points towards 235. So we are at the moment in a critical time, because, you know, we could confirm that the cup and handle carries on down lower, or if we reclaim those $3, maybe we use this as an actual bull flag, right? This can be a bull flag like this, and then you can just carry on. But I would like to hold that $3 for a little bit, for a lapse of, you know, a couple of days, and ideally the weekly close about $3, and then we get more confirmation of the bull flag. But it's a tough one because of the timing. If Bitcoin and Ethereum misbehave in August and September, like in previous cycles, based on past performance, not based on knowing it will happen, then XRP will most likely play out by the bearish case and go into 2 to 4 to something in the middle of the range. All right, guys, that completes this episode of the Elite TA Private for Patreon members. And thanks so much for joining me. I hope you got all covered. Sorry, Mokelemo Bembe, about the 3 entry levels and limit orders. I don't trade in that way. So it's not that I don't want to do it because, I don't care about the question. It's because that's not my trading style. So I don't feel comfortable putting it precisely where are the limit orders going to be placed, handing that out of someone and then saying, go ahead, good luck with that, right? Because I'm not going to look at that setup anymore. But the way I trade my trades is to kind of look at all the data and spend time with it, right? To get the highest chances. And I know other channels, they do these kind of things, but I think it's very, very unprofessional and they shouldn't do it. It's kind of like spitting to the sky and then running away and then leaving all your audience waiting for the disgusting thing coming in their faces, right? That's not how trading should be. If we do a trade together and we sit down, we look at all the data and we are taking the trade and I babysit my trade after as if it's mine because it's mine, then that is fine. But I'm not going to tell you levels that then after I'm not going to be able to defend. Sorry for the long explanation, but I really wanted to clear that out. Right. See you in the next one, guys. Bye bye. Take care.